Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Nabco Gyro Tech, their part number AccuSensor 3. This is a door sensor, and there's the business end of everything. Used for automatic doors, active reflective infrared system, motion presence, 12 to 24 volt, AC or DC, powered, and there is additional information down below this video in the extended description, so we'll touch on that briefly. Recommended temperature range 20 below to 55 degree Celsius, 20 degree below Celsius to 55 degree, so pretty much anywhere. Mounting height 6'6" to 9'10". Output display is green, red, or orange, and that will we'll talk more about that in a moment, but it will tell you where in the depth of field your presence sensor is. Standstill memory time 2 second, 10 second, 30 or 90 second. Output holding time 0.5 second, and weighs about a half a pound. It actually weighs 0.88 pound, at least with the box and the included power cable that you will get with it, along with the mounting template. Okay. Now there is included with the package the installation manual, and it's also linked down below in this video as well. And if you would open that up, we're going to now go through the installation manual step by step. Page 3 is where we get into the page 3 of the manual. Actually, is the index. And it's really at page 4 is where we will get into the technical specifications of the unit. And just briefly, we've covered all of that data already in this video. It's extended description information below this video. The page 5 of the installation instructions will give you the dimensional properties of the unit. And let's just test the drawing that's in the manual against the actual product. So 9 5/8 width, indeed. Overall height, 2 11/16. Yeah, spot on. 1 7/16 depth. That'd be accurate as well. It's great. It's exactly accurate. Now, shown with the cover removed, let's identify the parts that we've got here. Just a real easy little slotted screwdriver. You'll be able to separate those 2 points without damaging it whatsoever. It'll come right out. The cover here, you can order the cover separately, and as a matter of fact, there is a link below this video to the cover as a standalone product. So let's start with an identification of the unit, of the parts. The mounting screws, part number 1, they're here. Part 2 is the connector, and that's obviously going to work with the way to communicate with the rest of the installation. 3 is your sensitivity switch, where it's set at the factory at medium, and you might need to adjust it low or high, and we'll talk more about that later in the installation instructions. 4 mounting holes, 5 dip switches. We're going to go over that in detail as well. 6 adjustment screw for the angle, that's important, with adjustment screws as well. Part number 8 is the base. That's, of course, this area here. Number 9, fixed screw. I'm sorry. Number 9, fixed screw body and base. Right next to part number 11, your angle adjustment tool. 12 is the LED indicator, and that will show the green, red, or orange indications. There are images down below this video that will show a close-up detail of the board that's on here. Nice for you to be able to review the actual photographs of the item. Moving into page 6 of the installation instructions, you're going to be able to review the installation aspect, the mounting template. It's there ready to go. You're going to want to adhere to the 6'6" to 9'10" overall height, so that you can adjust that angle accordingly, and that would be the right height range to be working within. Very simple and straightforward. Apply the template. I like to be able to, when I'm working on doors, provided there's no glass, use a small center punch and tap my holes so that the drill bit will actually seat into the dimpled area so that I don't walk the drill bit at all. You'll obviously want to be very careful of doing that. You'll have your 2 keyhole slots that are here, and your fixed hole, and that's going to be for access of the wire. Speaking of wire, step 2 on page 6 is going to be plug the AccuSensor 3 harness into the 4-pin connector on the AccuSensor 3. That's pretty simple and straightforward how that's going to work. That's your harness, square round, square round. That, of course, lines up, square round, square round. Connect the black and red wires. Connect the black and red power wires to a Class 2 transformer, or the brown and red 12-volt wires. On a microprocessor U series control or other suitable power source, whatever is feeding the power. Then, of course, your white and green are going to go down to the activation or presence sensor input on the door control. Turn on the power and wait a minimum of 10 seconds for the sensor to calibrate. There is in figure 4 down below the legend of the wires that correlate to the wires that you see here. So it'll be very simple and straightforward to review. During the 10-second calibration period, there cannot be any movement whatsoever, or it will throw the calibration off. The calibration is intended to give you a baseline from where then you may, if you need to, customize the settings for angle, for sensitivity, things of that nature. So you'll want to establish that baseline. Page 7, following the following information describes how to change the settings, and the several pages following will talk about how to change the settings to suit your exact circumstances. And while we'll just go over in a cursory sense the installation instructions, we'll talk about the main topics now. There are 3 ways that you can control the overall setting of the customized ability to tailor the detection area. And those 3 ways, again, those 3 ways are via dip switches that will allow you to control the angle of pattern. Well, not the angle of pattern, but the depth of the presence pattern. You can go from the widest to 3rd wide to 2nd wide to the narrowest. You can then set the base angle, and that is, you know what, let's back up, the dip switches. That is going to be indicated, obviously, right there. 1 through 8, and that's going to be on page 8 of the installation instructions, where you can see a pictogram. You know, it's also there as well, showing the area depth adjustment. So you're going to set that up accordingly using your dip switches. The next will be the base angle, and the base angle is going to be handled by slightly loosening this screw, and then you can ratchet the entire positioning of the unit slightly, where it will allow you to go from, actually, they indicate that there is a fixed screw at the top. I do not see a fixed screw. I would loosen this screw, and I would loosen this screw so that I could adjust my angle, and then tighten those screws again. Set the base angle 10 degree to 0, adjustable by 2.5 degree increments, and that's indicated there in figure 6 on page 8 as well. You can see that referred to here. And the next and final, the 3rd method, is by the depth screw. The depth screw is obviously going to control your positioning of 2 different positions. Actually, you're going to be dealing with both the depth as from an elevation view, how deep it goes, but also be able to tailor the left to right positioning as well. And when you look at the screw adjustment here, it's not immediately evident, but the small part of the tool is going to fit down into the center of the depth screw adjustment, which is going to allow you to handle that depth from the face of the door out. Then you'll use the opposite end of the tool to adjust your angle, so to speak, or maybe your rake. Okay, so two controls right in one, right there. Then your adjustment tool goes right back onto the side of the unit. Okay, definitely do not want to lose it. Now we got it. Okay. Obviously, adjusting all of that per the increments that are allotted, or defined, I should say, is crucial. Now, setting up for wide coverage is talked about on page 9, and that will allow you to very finely define the actual pattern. So when you look at page 9, you're going to notice that there are beams or rays that are defined in numbers 1 through 8, and it is using the adjustment screw that we're going to see over in this area with adjustment, to tailor exactly what your coverage is going to be, because you might have a certain job site condition that you might need to work around, and being able to define that area of coverage is what you'll do on page 9. Operation setup mode on page 10. Sensors placed close to each other should be on different modes. There is no better way other than to just refer you to figure 12 in the installation instructions, that if you have several of these AccuSensors in proximity to each other, you'll want to set them in different modes so that they don't have the potential to communicate or to interfere with each other. Because there are 4 modes, a very elegant diagram is indeed figure 12, showing you how to set those modes differently to keep them from ghosting each other. Page 11 gets into sensitivity settings. Medium, again, is standard. You'll want to change that only if you find that there is some sort of misbehavior that's occurring. You might not be able to get it to trigger properly. You might need to increase the sensitivity, or you might have a condition where you need to lower the sensitivity to prevent a faulty trigger of the door unit itself. So the next area is snow mode, and that will be dip switches 5 and 6. And we had initially talked about all 8 dip switches. The the mode setting is dip switches 3 and 4, and then you'll be able to review dip switches 1 and 2, which are going to give you your initial setting on pattern width as well. So snow mode is important because you might be triggering it depending on the field conditions. Snow mode is only active when the temperature is at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. If the sensor is installed during a warmer time of the year, you might have to adjust it when the winter time comes. Presence detection time. The AccuSensor 3 computer will establish a base memory pattern of the total detection area when the power is applied. Again, no movement in that 10 seconds. Changes within the memorized detection area, whether on the floor or above the floor, will generate a signal to open the door. The base memory pattern will change automatically after the selected memory time set elapses, assuming there's no movement within that time. The time interval at which this memory pattern will occur can be adjusted using dip switch settings 1 and 2, and that is, of course, indicated as well. 1 and 2 right here. Okay? Moving on to page 12 of the installation instructions. Just some cautionary information, things that you might need to be aware of, conditions that might cause the unit to activate when you don't want it to. Reflective floor surface, you might need to adjust the sensitivity. Again, turning the power on is brought up again in that area. The output indicator, the green, red, and orange, Power off is going to give you no LED operation. The initial entry of the outside of the detection area will become green, and when you're traveling through, it will be orange, and when basically you're exiting, it will become red, and then when you leave, it'll become green again. Page 13 gets into other conditions that might trigger it. You might need to make adjustments as well. Now, page 14 actually is a very nice graphical indication of other scenarios that you might need to account for, such as things that are in front of the door that might trip it, like a rug or some sort of sign that might be installed outside. And not to beleaguer those points in this video, you'll want to just review that. Page 15, troubleshooting. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't detect, or if it misdetects, that's all very simple and straightforward. Basically, Nabco sensors are set and forget devices. The need to go back and alter them over time, the potential is there, but it's very unusual that you'll end up doing that sort of scenario. And quite frankly, the only time that we end up with a replacement scenario for a client is vandalism. With enough, the units can fatigue, I suppose, but it's, these sorts of items are known to last an extreme amount of time. So we don't sell replacement sensors because of them growing into old age. There is a link, finally, below this video to the manufacturer's page within our website, where you can review not only all of the Nabco Gyrotech items that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the product catalog, and then other important documents that page is where we will locate or place them. A master template index for installation instructions, things of that nature. If you have any questions on the Nabco Gyrotech, their part number 14890-2-3, AccuSensor 3, or any other Nabco Gyrotech product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.